it's me. So in celebrity art scandal news, Billie Eilish is getting called out. So Billie Eilish is actually hosting an art contest in collaboration with Adobe to find a brand new merch design for her official tour t-shirt. And the contest is called Make the Merch Contest. So what's wrong with this? Why are people saying this is very predatory? And why are people saying that this is a scam and that Billie Eilish is scamming artists? Well, I will get into all of that. We'll talk about it. But while we're exploring this topic, I will be drawing Billie Eilish for my thumbnail. By the way, I will not be entering the contest. This is just for the video. And as always, I do invite any artists out there to draw along with me. We'll be chat and hang out, and you can send me your art on Instagram or Twitter at PaintandSipYT or on my subreddit r/PaintandSipYT. And don't worry, I do not own anything you send me. It's literally just for fun. But I do love sharing your work on here. So this is an illustration by Ray of Doodles on Instagram. And if you want more art on your feed, I highly recommend go following them on Instagram. And before finally getting started, huge thank you to my top tier Patreon members, Jasmine, Maury, Fabian, Teal, and Evie. Thank you so much for your support, and it means so much to me. And if anybody else is interested in receiving fun art benefits like downloadable coloring pages, stickers, thank you cards, and more, my Patreon as well as my Etsy and everything else will be linked below as always. And with that, I am ready to get started if you are. So, Billie Eilish's art contest. What's wrong with it? So just the other day, Billie Eilish announced that she would be hosting an art contest, and to enter, all you have to do is submit a piece of your fan art. And here's how Billie Eilish explained it.
As you know, I am going on tour this year and designing merch right now. And I know how creative all of you guys are, so I wanted to see if you guys would want to be involved. I am going to pick out my favorite piece of fan art to be on one piece of official merch on my tour. I can't wait to see what you guys all come up with, and I know that it's going to be amazing.
So that's the contest. What's wrong with it? Well, this is something that people call Spec Art, which is essentially a company or a famous person or a celebrity asking a whole bunch of people to submit designs for free, and the one person that they actually pick to use their design, they'll get compensation. Adobe and Billie Eilish are basically asking a whole bunch of artists to work for free, submit their designs for free, with the chance of being paid and with the chance of having their art displayed on an official tour t-shirt. So how do other companies do this the right way when they want to hire a whole bunch of artists and they want a whole bunch of options to be able to choose from when designing a piece of merch or an advertisement or basically anything where they need an artist to design something? Well, let's just say that, for example, say I was hired by a huge company to create a logo. This is all just hypothetical, by the way. But say this company wants a whole bunch of different options. They want to see a whole bunch of different styles. They want to have a whole bunch of different approaches to be able to choose from to make their official, final logo. Say they like my style. That's why they hired me. But they also like your style, so they hired you too. And they hired 10 other artists to make 10 different designs. Okay, say my job was to make 10 different variations of a logo in my style. They also hired you to make 10 different variations of a logo in your style, as well as 10 other artists are making 10 different variations each. So then the company has over 100 options to choose from. But they paid all of those artists to make all those options because those artists put time in and they put labor in, so why shouldn't they be paid? So then this company decides on the final logo that they like the best, the logo that they will be officially using for their project. The artist who created this logo was one of the other artists that we mentioned. It's somebody we don't know, but even though this company didn't pick my logo to use and they didn't pick your logo to use, we still got paid for the time we put in, right? That's normally the right way. That's the acceptable way that huge corporations or companies or even just clients in general will work when they want a lot of options to choose from. And in that situation, the artists who did not get picked should in no way take that personally. You still got paid for your work. The company just ended up not wanting to use what you made. And that's just how it works. It's not personal. It's just they decided to go a different direction. In comparison to this big hypothetical company that I just talked about, they paid all the artists that contributed their options, when Billie Eilish only has to pay one. So an artist named Megan Rose Ruiz posted on Twitter and TikTok about this and shared her thoughts on this as someone who is experienced in working for companies. And I want you to hear how she has to explain it.
This is Spec Work. Hi, I'm a professional artist. I make my entire salary every year from making art for other people. So please trust me when I say that art contests are exploitative and dangerous and bad for any working artist. Let me explain. By the time a company or a client comes to me and they're like, hey, we have this project and we want you to work on it, are you available? They have already spent an ass ton of money. How is this possible? Well, a company or a client has to pay for the recruitment process. They pay people, or they themselves go and scout to find artists to work on their project. They ask them if they're interested, if they're available, and if their rates match up. So 1, the recruitment process costs a lot of money. 2, artists create first passes. So when a client comes to me and they want me to create a logo or an illustration or a merch design, I will go through a first pass process where I create up to hundreds of options and iterations exploring style, color, composition, approach, all of this stuff to give the company as many options as I can for their project. And even bad iterations are just as important as the good iterations in the first pass, because it shows the company what doesn't work and what they don't want. And this process costs a lot of money. Labor costs money. So during an art contest, a company or a musician or whatever is getting all of these free options, and they're also having artists come to them, which obviously means that they don't have to pay for recruitment.
So now that we know what's going on, let's actually look deeper into the contest rules, okay? Before making any rash conclusions about all of this. So right here, we can see that the grand prize is your art on an official t-shirt. A portion of the proceeds will go to Textile Exchange. The winner also gets a $10,000 cash prize, 2 tickets to Billie's show, and your art will be displayed on stage. You'll also get 1-year subscription to Adobe Cloud. They also have 10 runners-up, so each runner-up will get $1,000 cash prize, 2 tickets to Billie's show. You'll get your art displayed on stage, and you also get a 1-year Adobe membership. So how much are they paying out altogether? So the $10,000 plus $1,000 times 10. Billie Eilish and Adobe, they have $20,000 of a budget to pay out the winners of this contest. So wouldn't they just be able to use that $20,000 and recruit certain artists to work for them? Say they hired 10 different artists, 10 artists that they looked at their portfolio, they liked their style, they liked the way they worked, and they paid each of those artists $1,000 for their contribution. They would still have $10,000 left, and say they could give that extra $10,000 to the artist that will actually be having their work displayed on the tour t-shirts. That's just one way of going about it. So then not only are they bombarded with all of these submissions by all these artists of all these different skill levels, of all these different styles, and besides that, people are currently entering this competition with troll artworks, people who aren't actually entering for real, but they're upset by the spec work aspect of this, so they're submitting purposefully bad pieces. So not only does Billie Eilish and Adobe have probably way more submissions than they can actually realistically look at, but a lot of them are not even real submissions. So wouldn't it make sense to just seek out 10 to 20 actual professional artists? Maybe even just seek out some hobbyist artists whose style that you really love. And again, that way they're all getting paid, and then the one you choose can get paid more for actually having their work being used for promotional purposes for the tour. Now I just want to quickly just look into the legal side of this, just to kind of get another perspective and maybe to play devil's advocate a little bit. So if I click on see official rules, it says you have to be a legal resident of the United States and you have to be at least 18 years old to be eligible to enter the contest. One of the guidelines that just popped out to me was that the work being entered must be entirely original, and it must not contain materials that violate or infringes others' rights, including but not limited to privacy, publicity, or intellectual property rights, including copyright infringement or legal or moral rights of any third party. And that makes it even more difficult because if I just Google a picture of Billie Eilish right now, right, and I go to images, obviously we're going to get a bunch of pictures of Billie Eilish, but here's the tricky part. All of these images are going to be owned by a photographer or just whoever owns the image. Most of the time, Billie Eilish isn't really going to own the actual image because the photographer does, unless there was like copyright releases. We don't know this. We just have to assume that all of these images right here on Google Images, when you type in Billie Eilish, they're all protected by copyright. And now you may be thinking, well, fan art, isn't that not copyright because I actually drew it? It's derivative. It's tricky. I'm not a lawyer. If anybody else here knows more about that, please chime in the comments. But as far as I know, if I am using one specific photo as a reference to draw Billie Eilish and I am drawing it as she is in the photo, that is derivative work, and as far as I know, it would still be protected by the copyright of the photographer who owns the reference that you used if you can tell that your artwork was derived from that specific reference photo. But if you are able to change it up enough, if you just kind of use Billie Eilish and her likeness in general to make something that's completely original, make something that you can't pinpoint to an actual one reference photo, one photograph, that's kind of what they're asking for based on how I'm reading into it. My point is that it's just so tricky to be able to know what they want, they're asking literally all these artists, and I know it says that you have to be 18 to enter, but I'm sure a bunch of teenagers are going to be entering too, just because they're not going to like read all of these fine print instructions before submitting their art. So literally they're going to have way too many submissions to actually be able to look at. Again, which is why they should have just commissioned 10 to 20 artists that they know are good artists and that they know are going to be able to submit the outcome that they want. I don't know. What do you think? But now I kind of want to just take a step back and ask, does this really matter in like the overall big picture moment? Like, okay, listen, I know it's not like the best option morally for a big company to do, but technically what they're doing is legal. So, I mean, there's really nothing we can do about it except enter if you want and don't enter if you don't. But I do want to say that the artist Megan who spoke on this and anyone else who's trying to kind of spread information about this type of contest, they're being really helpful and they're kind of, spreading the awareness about this kind of contest and how they can be harmful and how you can unknowingly give up the rights to your art if you do enter these contests, because I did see that there was another license, copyright, fine print section in these rules where it said that if you enter, they automatically own the rights to your piece even if you do not win. There's nothing really we can do except just kind of educate each other and say, hey, if you enter these, this is kind of what you're giving up. You're giving up the rights to your art. You are also working for free when you could be getting paid. But at the same time, like if somebody really wants to enter because they're like, hey, it'll be a fun way to get my inspiration going, something I could put on my resume, whatever their justifications are for still wanting to enter after knowing these things, that's their right. The artists who want to enter, they're going to do it anyway. So who am I to stop you if you do want to enter? I'm not going to do it, but I can't tell you not to. I can tell you why I think you shouldn't, but that's about it. At the end of the day, everybody who is entering, they're all adults, they're all artists, they're making their own decisions. And I'm sure that Billie Eilish did not have any malice when agreeing to participate in this collaboration with Adobe, but maybe she will kind of see the outrage that this is sparking from some artists, and she'll know next time to just, pick a few artists that she likes and ask them all to submit work, paid work, and, pick one that she likes the best from those submissions. I really want to hear your thoughts about all of that, especially if you know more about copyright than I do, but remember to follow my socials, tag me in your art because I'd love to see what you made with me if you made anything, and I hate outros, so okay, bye.